Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to see you this morning. And my name is Shelley Crawford. I am the EMCC Global Program Accreditation Quality Award leader. And I am very, very delighted to welcome you here today and to welcome my wonderful teammates. So today we have Tammy, who she will explain and introduce herself. Tammy, I know you do a good job of that. Do you want to go ahead, Tammy?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning from me as well. Well, for those that have morning, anyways, I believe that we have many time zones here. So I'm Tamara Georgiadou. I'm in the accreditation team as well. I'm the accreditation manager for especially Europe. And we're doing quality awards, but also individual awards. And we're here to discuss all about accreditation with together with Shelley. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Tammy. And we have Nicola, who is, I don't know what Nicola does. She does everything. So
I don't know what I'm doing a lot of the time, Shelley, and it seems to muddle along and work itself out. So that's me. But I do communications for accreditation, but I also do the 5-day challenge. I do the Global Provider Summit Dialogue Series, and I have been involved in the organisation of this event too.
There you go. I told you she does everything. And Wendy, we have Wendy today as well.
Hello, I'm administration for accreditation. I've only been working here for a month, so this is my first summit. Very exciting.
Brilliant. You're so welcome, Wendy. And
Thank
we
you.
have Rory as part EMCC, but also special guest for today. So
yeah, morning, everybody. Lovely to be here. I'm the CEO of a company called Adelia, and we accredit people mostly at foundation and practitioner level. So Shelley and I do a lot of work together, and I'm learning every day about accreditation and the value of it, and hopefully I'll bring some useful info from the provider side of things to today.
Thanks, Rory. And then Dila, who is in the background, making sure everything goes well. So as I'm looking at the screen now, I'm seeing some familiar faces. So I know Jan, we've spoken loads, Cristiano's, Sylvia, I can't see Sylvia's, but you're all so welcome today. So I'm wondering, in true EMCC style or coaching style, what you would like to get out of this session, because I could carry on about all sorts of things around accreditation and the process, and I have a PowerPoint ready and Tammy's got her bit to talk about, but the most important thing is, what do you want to get out of today? And maybe because there's only a few of you here, you might want to just say it out loud instead of writing it in the chat, and also tell us who you are.
1 minute. Good morning, everybody. I'm from Bucharest, from Romania, and I'm deeply interested in this accreditation because I have a startup business on mentoring and a school for developing mentors, and I had the first step with Shelley about what information I need to accredit this school. It's called Mentor in Digital Era. So I combine the development of the mentor with some digital elements. I'm very happy to be here and to learn more about this. Thank you.
Very welcome, Florentina. Thank you for joining us. Fortina, would you like to go next? Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly.
I do. You did the best to pronounce it well, but my name is Fotini. And well, I belong to the accreditation team. I facilitate the 5 days challenge in Greece. I've been, yeah, so I was working very close with Tamara and Nicola. So it was my second time. And I've been trained by Tamara and Shantana for how to facilitate and how to be a good assessor. and I'm here to learn more if there is more to learn.
Brilliant. Thank you
So thank you for this
I know
opportunity.
Tammy's spoken very highly of you. So yeah, and you're next on my screen. It's nice to see you. You're surprised.
Yeah, well, nice to see you. Yeah, I offer a bit like Rory. We're a provider and have been for 13 years. So again, if there was people who are on the call that was looking to get accredited courses, sort of our experience. But as I said, when I offered it, it's been 13 years since we did that, maybe 10 for the practitioner program.
Yeah.
So it's a long time since we went through that process, but we've done the re-accreditation, of course, therefore, quite a few times over that period. We also stopped doing the practitioner program. So maybe if anybody interested in understanding some of that sort of thinking, but it may not be relevant today given the audience. But and on the top of that, also just nice to hear what new things might be happening, Shelley. So if you're going some new directions with the EQAs, and that'll be interesting to know as well.
Well, we've got to get everything else right first, Jan. So, but yes,
That's a good point.
It's really lovely to have you here, and I know you're such an old timer with the EMCC.
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now I feel old.
Not that you look it now, you know. It's just
Very kind of you to say
I'm
that, Shelley. Likewise.
I'm getting my feet deeper in here. Cristiano, good morning. How are you?
Hi, everybody. So nice to meet you again. I work for a company based in Italy called Mentor Lab. And back in 2019, we went through the accreditation process, the EQA process for one of our programs. And actually, it never stopped because as I learned, it's an ongoing process. And we went through verification process. And now we are about to go for the accreditation of a brand new program. So I will bring my feedback on this very, very useful and valuable ongoing process. So you will never feel alone, you know, in your what you're doing with your clients, with your mentees, and so on. And we can always count on EMCC support, and also learn how things are going for the others, because we feel part of this beautiful community.
Oh, Cristiano, that is so lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna, would you like to introduce yourself?
I am Anna. I'm from Ireland, here to observe and learn from others. And maybe there will be possibility sometime next year, the following year, but I just want to learn from others how it's all done and what's new.
Ah, fabulous. You're so welcome. Sylvia.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity that you're giving us. Hi, Anna. I had a pleasure to speak to Anna 2 days ago. I'm also here to find out, well, maybe first I'm going to introduce myself briefly. I'm responsible for the quality assurance in PCI, Performance Consultants International, and we're now looking for a collaboration with EMCC. So we're going to be looking at different accreditations. That's why I'm so delighted to be here, especially with people who've been through this process. So I'm also looking forward to finding out really anything that can be useful.
Wonderful. You're very welcome too, Sylvia.
Thank
Fisher,
you.
I see you there, but I'm going to leave you till last. Okay, we're delighted to have you. I'm going to let Tatiana go first and then you afterwards. Is that all right? Yep. Tatiana, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Tatiana Kasyayeva, and I'm belong to EMCC since 2020, and I really appreciate it because I'm a business coach since 2007 and PCC ICF. And now I'm doing process of accreditation in EMCC, and I'm here because I belong as co-founder to Academy of Coaching, Supervision and Mentoring. We established together with Sylvian Canio and Cheryl Cooper, and we have now our second cohort on the Russian market. It means I'm in supervision mostly last 3 years deeply.
You're very welcome, Tatiana. Fisher, it is lovely to see you. What time is it there?
Yeah, we are around 4:40 in the afternoon. Hi,
Oh,
hi
in the
everyone. Hi,
afternoon.
hi,
Okay.
Shelley and Nikolai, everyone. Nice to meet you all again. So
Yeah.
let me introduce myself. My name is Fisher. I'm based in Shanghai. We are around 4:40 4:40 right now. Actually, we are doing. I mean, I'm very honored to introduce EMCC to China in the year 2019, and I feel pretty happy. We did a lot of things to promote EMCC here in China by organizing a lot of, I would say, EMCC China 100 webinars to talk about the mentoring, coaching, and supervision. So far, we already did around 33 sessions already. So the ongoing, another 67 sessions will be on the way. And then we, at the same time, we also doing the corporate mentoring here in China. We focus a little bit more on mentoring rather than coaching because we want to positioning, EMCC a little bit different to ICF coaching here in China. So that will give EMCC a better position in the market. So that's something I'm doing here right now. So very happy to see everyone here. I hope to learn from everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Fisher. I remember meeting you. I don't even know how many years ago it was.
Yes.
I think one of the GPSs, and it's been wonderful since. So as you can hear, this is a really amazing, I feel like we're in a family, this global family. And I think, you know, that this is really at the core of what we want to, as the accreditation team, as EMCC as a whole, build for our people, our providers. We want you to become part of the family. And as you can hear too, we don't always get things right, but people come back. And this is one of the really big advantages, I think, of working with us, is that you don't just come on the train for until one stop. You're on the continual train right through. And we always see you coming back to accredit more programs and ask more questions, etc. And that is wonderful. And we are so grateful to be able to support you. So what I'm going to do now, before I talk to Tammy or hand over to Tammy, and then we'll talk to Rory a little bit about his experiences of having his programs accredited. And hopefully we can get some with you guys as well, the rest of you. But before I do that, I want to just take you through a couple of my slides, okay? So EMCC Global is made up of a whole lot of affiliated countries. Many people don't realize how big EMCC is, and regions. And then we've got our direct members and our partnerships where a local EMCC does not yet exist. So in many of the countries, there is EMCC in the country itself, and they have a whole team of people working with them and for them to support everyone, which is absolutely brilliant. Yes, 140 countries. The EMCC Global Council, it forms the strategic guidance for the EMCC as a whole. Now, I think still at the very heart of EMCC is this purpose and this vision of being the go-to body in mentoring, coaching, and supervision. And I think also something that is not really mentioned in the purpose and the vision, but is there in everyone's hearts, is again this concept of a family, of being able to join a team of people who can support you in making the world, quite honestly, a better place. Because I always say, if everybody used coaching or mentoring with a coaching approach in the whole world, we would have a much better world and a lot less warring going on out there. And that's, I think, at the heart of EMCC Global. These are, I'm not going to read these all out to you, but these are our affiliated countries. And as Fisher said earlier, China's one of our newest ones that he has introduced EMCC to, and we are delighted with that as well. So there's the 140 countries plus 40,000 Global Quality Award graduates. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about, Tammy's actually going to be addressing this part of the presentation where she will talk about how the individual accreditation is embedded into the Quality Award program, and what a wonderfully robust, nonetheless robust, but easy and supportive process that is. I think something that is really, really relevant to EMCC's robust framework is the fact that it is aligned to the qualifications framework of the European higher education area, but also for the lifelong learning. And that is a huge part of our individual accreditation recognition, and that is the participants' prior experience. These are the various programs, and I actually am not sure that this one is fully updated as I'm looking at it. These are only some of the programs that receive the Quality Award and receive the the EMCC Global Accreditation as well. So you'll see we have supervision, if you don't already know about that, and the ISMCP, which Rory has just recently or over the year introduced the ISMCP process to one of the universities here in Ireland. Excuse me, it's very early in the morning for me. So here we are getting to the real nitty-gritty of it. All of the team who work in the accreditation process are there to support you, the provider, for success. So there is no, here we go, you fill in the application form for the accreditation, and when you're ready, send it in. And if you don't achieve this, that, and the other, well, very sorry for you, come back later. There is none of that. What we rather aim to do is to look at where the gaps are. You will be allocated, certainly more recently we are doing it this way, where you are allocated a coach mentor or one of the accreditation managers, for instance, Tammy, sometimes your actual assessor, who will go through the process but support you in achieving the accreditation. And I think this is what is really, really one of the quality hallmarks of the EMCC, and that's this dynamic accreditation process. So as Denise always likes to say, we look at what you have done with your program, and we use the accreditation process as a celebration of all the things that you are doing well. And the whole idea is that you will continue your relationship with us as you go forward, recommending your participants for individual accreditation, where you are bringing new programs to be accredited, where there may be changes in some of your programs. But the idea is that you can tap in, contact us, and we will be there to support you. One of the underlying principles is that because we are all essentially working towards the same goal, we work from a position of trust. And we can do that because our processes are inherently robust. They're rigorous and they're fair. And once the minimum criteria are met and we ask for validation and supporting that criteria, we then look at, well, what works well for you and what can we help you with? So, of course, authenticity is one of the things that we look for in a program, and that is normally comes across when we are having those dialogues and supporting our providers through the process. And again, this principle of wanting you to continue the journey with us is at the heart of everything. So when we are assessing a program, yes, we will look for if any concern or inconsistency comes up, we will look to rectify that and work with you to rectify that. So by the time your program comes to the final accreditation process, it is all ready to be accredited. And a lot of providers say that that is one of the things that is very comforting for them. Here are some, oh no, we've done this one as well. This is the one that was missing, the Global Quality Award for Program Manager Training. So this is one of our newer accreditations. And actually the one that is not on here is the Team Coaching Accreditation. So there is the Team Coaching Program Quality Award, and then of course the individual accreditation for team coaches. We're going to be talking a little bit about the bespoke program as well, just to give you an idea of what that entails. And that's one of our newer options. I say new, but we've actually had it in pilot form for a number of years already, and now it is part of the offering that we provide for our applicants, and that's the Bespoke Program Award. The individual accreditation, as I said earlier, is embedded into the program, and Tammy's going to talk more about that. But the 4 levels are Foundation Practitioner, Senior Practitioner, and Master Practitioner. Now, in the Quality Award Program Accreditation, there is the option for the program to be accredited as a bespoke program. And essentially what this means is that where we recognize that the content of the program is at a particular level. So we can see that from the content, we can see that from the learning outcomes, and we can see that from the alignment to the capability indicators at that level. But the number of hours, for instance, are not enough to be accredited as a full program. So for instance, the practitioner program full number of hours is 150. However, we are seeing more and more programs coming through that have wonderful content, specialist content very often. And I must say that of all the programs that I see globally, there is no one program that is exactly the same as the others. And I think what's important about that is that there is room for everybody, because there is always another way of looking at things, another speciality in the programs that are being accredited. And I think this is one of the things about this GPS, and one of the reasons it was started was to celebrate that diverse creativity that comes through the programs, but also share it with our fellow providers, because at the end of the day, we're all still living in the same world, and there is always room for innovation and creativity. Oh my gosh, you got me started in my head on that passionate bit of myself. So let me just go back to the bespoke programs. So yes, to recap, the content would be at a specific level, but the number of hours is not necessarily a full program. So a practitioner program might be 150 hours in total for all the hours that are put in for that program. But in a bespoke program, we might find a program that has 75 hours, so half of the full program. And yet the content, the quality assurance process, everything else is there and can be accredited. And in that way, we've been able to open up our accreditation awards, because people do not have to have the full number of hours, as long as the content is at the level and speaks to the capability indicators. If anybody after this wants to ask some more questions about this particular part, please feel very welcome to. This is the general process. So the inquiry about the accreditation comes through. And although we as a team try to respond to those queries as quickly as possible, that is not always possible. And we don't always do that as well as our hearts would like to, simply because it's probably because we all are working in our own organizations and that as well. So please forgive us if we don't get back to you as quickly as we can, or as we'd like to, I should say. EMCC support and advice is then given. We very often have one of these Zoom calls where one of the team will take you through the process, show you the key documents, answer any questions. And these dynamic conversations have proved to be really, really useful, because you get a very clear idea very quickly of where your program might be positioned, what you maybe need to do before you finalize the application process, and meet us so that we can talk to you about it. And that's generally one of the first meetings we have with you. Then when your application is ready, we will then allocate an assessor for you. Again, this is dependent on availability as to when exactly, but generally, again, in our hearts, we want to get you an assessor as quickly as possible so that the process can be started and there is not a huge amount of time before the accreditation application report is finalized. Sometimes where there are issues or where something has to get in place or still be put in place, then that might take time in terms of the final process. So whilst I'm here, I'm just looking, Jan has asked a question: how will successful participants be designated for completing an EQA bespoke program at practitioner level? Great question, Jan. I'm going to come back to that in a second. All right. Excuse me. Once that part of the process is done, the assessor will stay in contact with you and ask maybe clarification questions or engage with you to suggest something that where there might be a gap. The report will be written, and then the final draft of the report is sent back to you so that you can look at it and confirm, has my program been interpreted like I would wish it to be from the report, bearing in mind that that report needs to be detailed, because that is the record, and you will get a copy of the final one as well, but that is a record of your program. It is also very often a wonderful summary of how your program works. So it's great for you to have on file all in one document. But when you come to reaccredit your program in 5 years' time, where there may be changes, etc., which are all part of the process, then that document serves to stand as proof of the original program. And then finally, it goes to the verifier. Sometimes the verifier will work hand in hand with the assessor. And then the very final step is to go forward to panel for final review. And these checks and balances are in there so that we make sure we are accrediting at the same standard for everyone, and that the process is always robust. What next? I think, Tammy, I might hand over to you now to talk about the individual accreditation and the embedding of it. And then, Jan, I will come back to your question after Tammy has talked about it.
Thank you so much for this, Shelley. It's always nice to hear again and again how important the work we're doing is. And I just wanted to highlight, before going on and talking about the EIA embedment, is really the process, the journey, as we say, in regards to building the relationship with the providers, because this is what we're doing. It's not just a checklist that we want to tick the boxes, but really to create this collaborative and co-creative journey with the provider to make sure that they're building and they're developing over the years as well. And this also comes with the renewals after the 5 years or so, when we're saying, okay, how different is now the program and what else you did and how you updated it. So it's always collaborative. Now, in regards to the EIA embedment, sometimes when we start talking about it, I can see the providers getting a bit stressed about, oh my God, what is this? And more boxes to tick. But really, when we get into the dialogue, we see that they already have everything into their programs. So what we want to see what we mean by EIA embedment really is we want to make sure that by the end of the program, by the successful completion, all the participants have also the minimum requirements for the individual accreditation. So what that entails is really the practice they have, whether it's a prior learning or during the course learning, it depends also on the levels, and also the practice they have, and any other ongoing learning, and the supervision, of course, within that. So what we want to see, and most programs already have, is the practice, the reflection, the supervision, and then the capability indicators are already, Shelley said, for the level they will apply for. So basically, if it is a practitioner level program, for example, we expect that the candidates, the participants of this EQA program or ESQA program, EQA program, let me clarify this. They also have EIA minimum criteria by the completion of the program, so they can be awarded also for their individual accreditation. If they don't, then of course there is also the discussion how we can develop that further as a program, but also as individual, to get there and activate their individual accreditation. So this is what we're looking into the programs. Usually the practice balance the theory within the program, and then the reflections they have within the program balanced again, and supervision, whether it's within the program or can be complementary to the program.
And everyone,
this is the declaration form that usually they need to sign, and we always say that it's they declare and they sign these, which means that they take the responsibility that they will be abide by the Global Code of Ethics, and of course the Diversity and Inclusion Declaration. We always pay a high attention to that as well, as you will know. Professional practice, so definitely the client logs is there as a good practice. We expect they have that from before, so some of them may be in Word, some in Excel, some in a different kind of form. We don't mind, as well as it's there, we are fine with that. Ongoing CPD, again, it depends on the level they are. We want to see specific years of practice and specific number of clients and hours of practice. So years of practice, number of clients, and hours of practice. Also, when it comes to CPDs, again, the level plays a role. For practitioner level, for example, we expect 16 hours of CPD per year, whereas in senior practitioner level, 32 hours. Of course, the reflective practice and the logs, it's always great practice to have throughout whatever we do, whether it is on our practice, whether it's our reflections on CPD at a conference that we have attended, or even a supervision we have. So what are the learnings we are having from it to embed in our reflective practice? Supervision, as you can see, it's a very important part on what we're doing to make sure that we keep the high quality standards in our practice. So it's definitely 4 hours per year. We say 1 hour quarterly, and this is the minimum requirements. I always say, if you need to talk to somebody, you don't expect the quarter to pass, you just do it now, but make sure that at least you have the minimum requirements for it. And it's 1 hour every 35 hours when we talk about many hours of coaching and mentoring, so you need to do it accordingly. So the evaluation part and self-evaluation, to make sure that it's there as well, we always get feedback from the clients. And not only, I always say it's associate or whether it's your client in the sense of an organization, because we also have the 3-way contracting or other contracts as well. So it's always getting feedback from everyone that you're working with to make sure. But certainly we need the minimum requirement of the 5 feedbacks for the individuals. I think I've said everything, Shelley. I hope I haven't forgotten anything.
No, thank you, Tammy. You have spoken beautifully about it. Thank you, as always. So to summarize then, and maybe as a way of answering Florentina's question, because the program is being accredited, so that's the EQA award, there are already a number of processes in the program, like the reflective practice, like some CPD, like supervision. We very often will find not just individual supervision as part of the program, but group supervision as well. So those key processes are in the program. Client coaching, skills practice with an external client are part of the program. So because we recognize that these important and crucial areas of the individual accreditation are already in the program, the provider is then able to recommend his participants or her participants going through the program at an individual level, depending on what experience they bring with them. So, excuse me, again, as Tammy said, if your participants, say we've got one participant who has 1 year's experience, has already brought 50 hours with him or her, goes through your program, and by the very end has achieved all of those things, then all that participant needs to do is to take up their recommendation, which their tutor or the head of department will have made for them directly on their behalf to the EMCC. So this circumvents it. It almost replaces that individual accreditation, the longer process, the older process that might have happened and still for some people is a part of what the 5-day challenge is about. Because they've gone through the program, they then don't have to go through that other process, because we know that everything is already in place for their individual accreditation. So I hope that makes a little bit more sense. And Florentina, I hope that answers your question, and I see you raising a hand. Yes, please.
Thank you. If I can, I can speak a little. Look, as assessor, I have a person who just finished a training, and he knows this training. It's under the EQA accreditation. So the question is, and he came to me with accelerated. He knows it should do an accelerated evaluation accreditation. So what practically I have to do as assessor? I understood nothing, because the EQA provider should send a list to you, or to the team EIA accreditation, and that's all. So any assessor should do anything else, and the participant shouldn't fill in any documents. These documents that is on the screen now.
Yes.
Please be more specific. This.
Florentina, so when you say this person that came to, did they go through another program that was accredited by the EMCC already?
No.
Okay.
No.
So if they didn't go through that program, then they will complete the original accreditation, individual accreditation application.
That was my logical, but if the AQA provider will receive the accreditation and the answer, what the trainees should do at that moment?
So what I always do with my students, and certainly when I'm advising, and Tammy can add some of her experience to this, is I build in, and I'm going to go back. Sorry, I haven't got the whole document here. We have a particular document that that the tutors can embed into their program, so that they're as part of the portfolio that is submitted. So that's what I do with my participants, so that by the end of the program, all of these have already been completed by the participants, and they stay with the provider. Now, I'm just going to come back to Nicola here because she's got her hand raised, and I'm assuming she might have some good information for us.
I do. Now, Shelley, you are one of the brilliant providers that do that, and you make sure the paperwork's all sorted. But sometimes we we don't get all this stuff from providers. But that doesn't mean that the participants should be, penalised for that. So what we've got, and I'll put it in the chat here, is we've got a form that they can fill in that just says, I did my training here, and then we can go and verify it. So rather than us waiting for the information from the providers, if the participant tells us, or the applicant tells us, then we can go and find it by the back door. So it doesn't mean that they're held up.
Okay, in that 2 years.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, but the provider should receive should be aware about their own effort, because this could be a very good selling point for any AQA provider to offer this service to the trainees. Okay, thank you.
If I can add, Florencia, I actually admire what you're saying, and this is what we're trying to do. The EIA embedment into the programs is a requirement. But at the same time, we are not there to, as I said, just checking the boxes, but having this collaborative and very supportive relationship with the provider to get there. Because sometimes they might have half of it, sometimes they still work on it to include all these parts into embed into their program. And some might have a couple of them and then develop the other ones. And what we see also, if the provider has applied now, for example, and the participant that came, actually the candidate that came for the EIA has been in the last quorum, then they should be in the Excel that providers gives to us for the quorum, that it was basically the one that gives us evidence for the application of the EQA. So we can use that as well, exactly this one. So then it's straightforward. And as also Nicola said, that's why we're giving this opportunity to these candidates to go through the very easy way to receive their EIA accreditation. And the other thing that they definitely should do while they are also in the program is to sign the declaration. So the declaration form is always signed. This is the one document that the participants, the candidates, the individual accreditation candidates, they should provide us either through the provider or directly to us signed, because this is basically taking the responsibility for everything that they're declaring.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now it's clear, and this Excel, I never seen it, but now I can understand. And yes, it's a very good service that the provider should offer and should know. Myself, when I made my school, I had no idea about this because a provider was AQA accredited, but never told me. So I lost that 2 years accreditation because of this. So please advise them to do this in the benefit of their trainees, and they will understand it's a benefit for themselves. It's not only another bureaucratic thing, but it's really a support for their participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florentina. And yes, you're absolutely right. Anybody who has already had their program accredited a number of years ago, we are working slowly through them to contact them to get this process in place. Anybody who goes for accreditation, certainly in the last year or two, they would already have been advised that this process needs to be in place. And the spreadsheet that I've got on the screen now is basically the spreadsheet that the provider will complete when his participants sign up. And then when they've finished, they will be recommended at whatever level. Now, some of the providers that I've worked with, especially ones that did not have this process in place already, have said, oh my gosh, this is a lot of administrative work to do. But in actual fact, it's really not, because you are handing over the responsibility for those documents to your participants or to your alumni. And all you have to do is have that information there, they submit it to you, and then they can be recommended at the level. And because your program has been accredited, because we know that all the processes are in place, we are then able to stand by that and award the individual accreditation. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Tatiana.
Hello, one more time. I'm exactly on place because we have accredited program on the standards of EMCC for supervisors. And we have now the second cohort in for Russian-speaking coaches. And in Russia, we still have no EMCC chapter. Yesterday, I participated in initiative group meeting, and but it's not about it now. Now it's about, we have in cohort, first cohort, 27 people. All of them are very, very well known on the market because it's like cream of the market. 8 of them, for example, the owner of school in Russian market and so on. And some of them have MCC ICF, some of them, all of them have PCC ICF. And now I'm working on this exactly table, and I need to have clarity for myself. Because I am Russian too. I moved 25 years ago from Russia, but I still work English and Russian, and you can hear my accent and so on. And because of it, I really appreciate the support which I can obtain right now. They ask me questions, and because it's no support from EMCC in Russian language, and definitely it will be not for the next several maybe years, we have no idea how everything will go. I need to understand the way, and I need clarity, what I need to say them. And now I can share with you how I understand it, and I hope you will correct me. And what else? I have the idea that myself is the first case which should go through all this. And then it will be for me much easier to explain for them everything. Because during the first cohort, we prepared for them explanation with Sylvian about everything, all these papers and so on, but it's still difficult and nobody did it. As I understood, first people have to go the way from PCC or MCC ICF to senior practitioner EMCC. Is it right?
Yes, that's right, Tatiana.
And for this, it's exactly this client log, everything, or it's a little bit easier?
It's a little bit easier. We have a bridging accreditation where we recognize the ICF qualification. So it's not the longer process. It's a little bit easier. Yeah.
And I will strongly appreciate, Shelley, if now, for example, or maybe later I will leave my email, I strongly need somebody personal to whom I can communicate, because I got now very soon we will have the second cohort, and it means for me as a director for the Russian market that I will have more than 40 people who will wait. And
yeah, absolutely, Tatiana. If you leave your email address
yes,
in the chat, we will ask our colleagues in the individual accreditation team to allocate someone to you to support you through this process.
I can support you, Tatiana, with my limited Russian, and hopefully we can get somewhere together.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Tamara. It's absolutely, it's treasure. It's really treasure.
Thank you.
And after they obtain this, for example, senior practitioner, and after this, we sent you the table about this exactly table. And could you tell me what does it mean that in rose color? It's our decision about them, our recommendation.
Yes, so submitting all the names of the people that have gone through.
I did it, yes.
You will do that anyway. And then if they have the requirements already to for a supervision individual accreditation, so that would be the EIA at senior practitioner level, and it would be supervisor hours of 120. Because they've gone through your program, you can then recommend them in the column that says ESIA.
Okay, it's our recommendation because we observe them during this year.
Exactly.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And Silviana is an assessor already, and you know, once you've been through the process, you will have a good idea of why this works the way it does. Okay.
No, I decided to use this opportunity because it's very complicated. Sylviane has such a lot of on her shoulders always. And for me, I need clarity too. And thank you so much, Tamara. I hope we communicate and it will go more smoothly, all this process. And could you advise me of something else maybe?
Yes, Tatiana, I'm not sure, could we do a little bit more of what we've got and on the program here, on the workshop today, and then maybe hold that question just to the end? Would that be all right?
Oh, I'm really sorry. I was not sure I interrupt you. I'm just a little bit under the weather. Sorry.
No, not at all. I think that your question was very, very valuable for the other people in the room. So no.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So no, not at all, Tatiana.
Sorry.
So if I just go back to this bit, and Jan, I've still got your question in my mind there. So I just want to go back to the criteria that we look for as assessors when we are assessing the program. And then after this, we can talk a little bit more to any of your questions that you may have. So when we're looking, first of all, at the program, we're looking at which level it might reach. And very often you, the provider, will know already. But in that discussion, you, whoever's supporting you, one of the team, will be able to get a general idea of whether your program is at foundation practitioner or senior practitioner level. So we do that by looking at who the program is intended for. So who's the audience? Are they managers in an organization that just want to get coaching or mentoring skills? In this case, most likely would be foundation level. Or are they people who are coming with some experience who want to be either internal company coaches, for instance, or individual practitioners? And so that's one of the first criteria. The second one is the number of hours of the program, and then how the program is divided up. So the number of hours where it's divided up into skills practice, theory, and reflective practice. So we look at that as well. And then we look at the level of the content, and I mentioned this earlier. So is this basic coaching or mentoring skills, or is there more to the subject matter? Are there more models? Are there more theories? Are there specific subjects that are taught in the program? Because then it will probably mean that it is not just a foundation program. It is more likely to be one of the higher level ones. And again now, if the content is at the higher level, if the target audience is at a higher level, but the hours are less than a full program, then this is where the program may qualify for the bespoke program. And when we're talking about the bespoke program, it does not mean that we are talking about a quality award that is any less than the normal quality award. It's exactly the same quality award because all the processes are in place, all the quality assurance mechanisms are in place. It is no different. But because the hours are less, we can say this is a quality award, and then the provider may want to, at a later stage, add on another module or another part of the program that can then be accredited as part of the fuller program and eventually make its way up to the full level. So that is one way in which the bespoke program accreditation has become valuable for many providers and participants who perhaps don't have the time commitment to do a full number of hours. Jan, if I'm talking to answer your question, when you say how will successful participants be designated for completing an EQA bespoke program, first of all, they will be awarded that same EQA certificate. The only difference will be that the number of hours will be highlighted on the certificate, so that anybody who is seeing the certificate will know that it wasn't a full program, but it still had all the other quality award mechanisms in place. In terms of the individual accreditation, again, because they have been through all the right processes, the participants can be recommended for their individual accreditation because that is based on their prior experience, their individual experience that they have. So the 50 hours and the 1 year for foundation level, etc. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Partly, Shelley. So I am thinking of those individuals that complete a bespoke program. So say it's a practitioner, but the total program content and practice is only say 100 hours instead of 150. When they complete that, how do they say I'm a qualified coach at practitioner level, or do they say I am a qualified coach at practitioner level with only 100 hours? What do they do?
No, but they will if they have the 100 hours and the 3 years experience and they've got the CPD.
No, I'm not talking about the individual accreditation. I'm talking about the qualification that they get at the end of an EQA. So it's not an accreditation, it's qualification. Would they say that they are qualified as practitioner level then?
They would have gone through a practitioner program, and normally, yes, in my world, we normally only call ourselves accredited practitioners when we have the full 100 hours. So otherwise, I have then a practitioner level quality awarded program that I have been through.
Yeah, but that's a program. I'm thinking of the individual that now afterwards says, I'm a qualified coach. What level do they say they're qualified at?
If they have been through a practitioner level program, then they have the hours, then they can claim the practitioner.
Yes, but they won't have the hours if the program is not full. So they will have to wait until they've done the hours and
for the individual accreditation.
Yeah, but so Shell, I'm really quite specific here. That the individual accreditation, absolutely fine, fully understand that. I actually think that might be the way out, to be honest. I think there's an answer there, but I am thinking of, so myself, we decided not to add the individual accreditation because we just found that's not the audience at foundation level to go towards that we're finding. But it was curious with the bespoke program because we used to have a practitioner one. It sort of triggered a little, I mean, that might be interesting, but what do the person call themselves once they finished a part EQA, you can call it bespoke EQA, that isn't the full program? I would argue they can't call themselves for a practitioner level qualified coach at that stage. And I'm saying qualified, not accredited.
Okay, so then they would just add, I have fulfilled a practitioner level program of 75 hours, for instance. And now I'm going to go for, Tammy, do you want to add here? Because you might.
Yes, please. I would really love to answer this question. The thing, Jan, is that when we're talking about EIA embedment, it doesn't matter whether it's bespoke or a whole program, an EQA program. So that what it means, the EIA embedment ensures that no matter if it's a bespoke of 50 hours, let's say, or 70 hours, or whether it's a whole program of total 150 hours, we make sure that the individual EIA embedment, yes, individual accreditation embedment, is still there. So what it comes from the part is that the person who completes the bespoke program, by the successful completion of the bespoke program, they should have the EIA at the level of the program. So the embedment means that they still have the experience, so they have the 3 years experience. They have the experience, the practice with the 100 clients, 100 hours of practice. They still have the 10 clients. They still do the reflections at the level, so it's embedded at that point. The capability indicators, they also there at that level. And also they bring in the supervision as well, the 4 hours, the supervision. So they do have all the minimum requirements embedded. And that's why by the end, even if it's a bespoke, the provider can recommend them at the level of their bespoke program because the EIA is embedded also in the bespoke.
I fully understand that. Actually, yes, I fully understand that, Tamara, and I think it's a great idea, that concept. But what we're looking at, we qualify coaches. We don't accredit them. That's what you do, or the EMC does, is the accreditation. We do. So I'm really nerdy about this because I remember this discussion. There was lots of discussion about the wording between a qualified coach and accredited coach. An accredited coach is definitely the higher level. They're the one who keeps demonstrating over their career that they keep it up. Whereas a qualified coach, in principle, that's your qualification, and they may not use it afterwards. That's up to them. In principle, that's all we do with our foundation level. We qualify them. And that's fine. It's sorted. They get all the hours. It's not a problem. But the bespoke one is the one that was a little interesting in that we used to have the practitioner level before really individual accreditation became sort of the rigueur as it is now, which is super. So no qualms about that. But they will call themselves a qualified coach or coach and mentor at practitioner level. My argument would be here, I don't believe if they've only done the bespoke, they cannot call themselves qualified until they've done the full hours, and then they might as well do for an individual accreditation. I completely agree. It seems like the qualification almost is a non-entity in this at that level as a bespoke program. That would be my argument. But I'll leave that to you.
I agree, and we can have a long discussion about that, Jan. I absolutely agree with you. But the prior learning, this is what we celebrate also with all the individual, is that the prior learning, because if somebody is at that level and meeting the minimum requirements for the individual level, whether it's practitioner level, whether it's senior practitioner level, then we do celebrate that, because it's not just the 50 bespoke or 70 bespoke hours that they take part, but they certainly have prior learning as well that we need to account for, and the learnings they got also from the practice they had. So really, I totally agree with you in the sense of the qualification accreditation, in the sense that how we differentiate these, and maybe there is a big discussion on that as well. But when it comes to the EIA embedment, it's really straightforward. And the providers do recommend it. They don't accredit them, but they do recommend them or not for the level of the EQA accredited or a level up or down. Again, it depends on what they see from their participants, because we have this kind of cases as well. So you can come and say, it's a bespoke practitioner level, but I can only recommend these 3 for practitioner level and these 2 for foundation level. We have
because they don't have the hours of prior learning or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, it makes perfect sense. I think it's great, to be honest. Maybe mine was just a little nerdy, if I'm honest, technicality there, because I think that's a question whether you, what as provider, actually gives them at the end of completing a program. I think on a bespoke program, which I actually still think is a good idea, it is just that's your entry into making the EIA an easy process for you. It's not a qualification. That's, I think, what we probably have to recognize. They could get an attendance certificate, but it's definitely not a qualification unless they do the full practitioner one, would be my argument. But that's for you to come back and tell us what you want.
I think this is, thank you, Yannis. I think it's been, and Tammy, it's been a really, really useful discussion. And I think goes back to one of the main purposes of having the EIA embedded into the program. So yeah, it's to promote that extra that accreditation, recognizing all the past experience and learning. Thanks, Jan. Now, what I'd like to do, and please, if anybody does have any more questions, we happily take them. But what I'd like to do is just ask Rory, as a provider that, like many of you or some of you here, have a number of programs already accredited, just to talk a little bit about, you know, how the process was for him, what worked really well, what he found a little bit challenging. Any of those details would be, I think, might just be helpful from that perspective. So Rory, I'm going to hand over to you, and please feel free to talk as freely as you would like.
Okay, we accredit, you know, we run programs at foundation level and practitioner level mostly, and we've also been involved with the ISMCP, which is, you know, they're the main things that we've had interactions with the accreditation process. Initially, when we thought about doing this, I was actually quite nervous, because it is, before I got in direct contact with the accreditation team, I have to say I was a bit overwhelmed. But what's really nice about, and one of the reasons why, you know, we looked at maybe other coaching organizations, but we just found the EMCC team really, really helpful, and it's personal with EMCC. You know, you get to talk to a real person, and people talked earlier about relationships. We've learned an awful lot by how we've interacted with EMCC. The people we've met have been incredibly helpful. I'm very impressed with the amount of volunteerism that goes on at EMCC, and the amount of that kind of mission of bringing a new way of looking at how people interact, and how we have so many global problems at the moment that the world kind of needs us to interact in a coaching manner, in a way that allows us to come to a wisdom together that we could not have come to alone. With the help of the accreditation team, we learned an awful lot about how best to structure our programs. They've been very successful. I found the ISMCP experience wonderful, working with an organization that was trying to embed a coaching culture. Even the structure of the ISMCP qualification, the types of areas it explores, parts of, it poses questions that allowed us to really interrogate what was happening in the organization and how we might improve it. And I think the same, the people who come to our courses initially get a bit freaked out because it's like, oh my God, there's so much to do, and how am I going to do it? But embedding the EIA into the programs has been really, really helpful for the participants. And it allows us to show, I feel like I'm doing a promotion for EMCC here now, sorry, but this has been my experience. It allowed us to kind of mind them a bit better, so that there's a much better there's a really good relationship. I can't compare it to other providers, but you do build that relationship, and by building the EIA into the programs, it helps participants to feel that they're being kind of minded and supported along the way. And it is challenging, but it has worked really well for us, rather than just focusing on the EQA, which would have been my focus at the start. So it also means that when they finish the EQA part of it, there's continuous interaction between our students and the faculty, because they're checking in about, look, is this okay if I get this much done, or so how other things about the process that were useful, or even it can be, and Shelley alluded to it earlier, there seems to be so many people now interacting with EMCC that sometimes it does take a while to get responses, because of the volunteer nature of it, and that's, I suppose there's a responsibility on us as providers to make sure that we're efficient in how we do that. But we have found that embedding the EIA into the EQA has been really successful. We get people, as Jan said, the distinction between finishing your qualification and becoming accredited. Many of our students really appreciate that idea of, look, I have an accreditation here which is globally recognized. I haven't just finished a course. Some of them just want to do the course and they get an attendance cert, but most of them kind of buy into that, and we're finding that more and more companies and organizations are asking about, where are your credentials? Where's your accreditation? With whom are you accredited?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a help now, but that's been the experience we've had.
Thank you so much, Rory. I think that gave a nice little background from someone who's experienced in it as well. One more thing I want to say before we take any more questions is that because all our assessors, especially on the program accreditation side, are either coaches or mentors or supervisors themselves, but they also have a lot of experience in designing learning programs for coaching programs or other similar programs and have taken them through accreditation. They really are able to not just support you, but offer mentoring around or suggestions or share things that have worked well for them as well in the past. So I think that's a really, really huge benefit when working with a provider to support them through accreditation. I think we've done enough talking, so I don't know if anyone has any questions.
A small comment from me, if that's okay, Shelley.
Yes, please.
I just realized that we haven't talked at all about the quality assurance, which is one big important thing for us as well, because we are asking annually or even in a short periods in regards to the external verification report from the provider. And it's quite important for us because, again, another co-creative process is in that respect as well, to make sure the development and really the progress of the provider in regards to everything about the program, really the context, the participants, the quality through perspective from in-house or from outside the provider and the program. So I think this is another important thing that we haven't talked, and I don't know.
I think that would be a really good idea, and you're 100% right that was a crucial part that we hadn't yet gotten to. So thank you for the reminder. So do you want to just see if you can do a recap or a key summary of the key elements, Tammy? Are you okay with that? Because I know you manage a lot of that process.
I can talk very quickly about what we discussed today here, and it was quite a useful and interesting. But what we want to make sure as an EMCC Global is that this is not just checking the boxes, but really have this journey and conversation, co-creative conversation with provider from the beginning, and it's never end. As you said, it's quite a continuous relationship and even building on, because you're coming back with more programs to accredit, and then more bespokes, and then mentoring, and then coaching, and all together. So we talked about the main requirements and how we build on these requirements, and we talked about the EIA embedment as well when it comes to a program or a bespoke program or a full program or a bespoke program. And of course, I like that Rory came back with promoting EMCC from the eyes of a provider. Really appreciate it. But also to support other with building on EIA embedment into their programs, and of course the quality assurance, which we didn't have the time to elaborate, and maybe it's something that I would like to highlight as well. It's quite important for the providers to ensure the quality assurance. Thank you all for being here. I don't know if I really captured the main points of this session. If you have anything else to add, Shelley, I don't know. Yeah. Quality assurance, external verification is one of the most important things that we want to make sure providers are aware and have in place.
And actually, one of the reasons we do that is not as an audit check or because we don't trust you. It's because your program is accredited for a 5-year period. All right. So from the time we accredit it to the time you need to renew it, there is a 5-year period. And the external verifier is there to support you to make any changes if you find you want them through those 5 years. But also that's the only contact that we might have other than if you needed more support. So when the external verifier submits that very, very short report to us that you are a part of co-creating together, then they send it to us, and that's a way of us staying in contact with you too. And then when the 5-year period is up, we are able through those reports to see what changes you made, etc., etc. So it's again a supportive process, not necessarily a check up on you kind of process. I hope that makes sense.
Shelley, I would just add that this is really a great learning opportunity because your verifier is usually an expert in your field, and that's our experience that we learn a lot every time we have to reflect on what we're doing and trying to have a vision, on what we want, where we want to go. So that's a great opportunity.
Absolutely, Cristiano. That's very valuable. Thank you so much for adding that. I really appreciate that. Sylvia, I see you have a hand raised. Can I?
In regards to the quality assurance, the way I know it is from it's the way that it's done, for example, in ILM, which means that, and now I'm still in this role with ILM. So the way that it's handled there is that every provider meets with the external quality assurer once a year or every 2 years to talk about, there are 2 types of visits, as they call them. One is to check the systems and the processes. So all the policies, if they're in place, how the process looks like of getting people on board, and so on and so forth. And there is another type of meetings with external assurers that is sampling visits, which means that the external assurer chooses the assessments, the works, the portfolio to view for the evidence of a good practice. Would it be similar, or what types of visits can we expect as providers from EMCC, please?
Absolutely. It would be similar, Sylvia, in the sense that the external verifier is there to once a year. Actually, we don't do it every 2 years. It's once a year. To come to the provider and work with you and select a number of portfolios together with the provider themselves to check for consistency more than anything else. So this is really a kind of moderation that is fair for the participants, because then they know that they are being moderated on the same levels. In terms of the actual external verifier, the choice is up to the provider who you bring in to do that verification. We can only recommend who, the type of person. So as Cristiano was saying, the type of person who would be your external verifier would be a qualified colleague in the field who has a lot of experience, etc. A critical friend of the provider, so there to support you.
Just to clarify, this is the person from EMCC that is assigned to us.
No. So the EMCC for this, so the person who is assigned to you by the EMCC is only the assessor that accredits right at the beginning of the program. The external verifier is where we step back, and yes, we may recommend an external verifier if you are stuck for finding one, but it is essentially not our responsibility at that point. It is up to you who you would like to have for your external verifier.
And the external verifier is a person that I understand that must be from outside of our company.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Somebody who you know in the field, or who comes with a reputation for being able to maybe even design good programs, etc. And they come and sit with you and say, how's the program going? How did the year go? Did you make any changes? Did you make any adjustments? Is there any support that I can give you? Could we look at this and see how that is working for you? So it's that whole supportive, critical friend element. And the only thing yes. Does that make sense, Sylvia?
I'm still trying to understand it because of my previous
I might be able to
experience.
answer. I think I have a little comment into that might help. So EMCC is very good. They actually give a template for you can use as a starting point for designing how would we like the process to work on an annual basis. And we actually chose an old retired ILM external verifier, which we worked with some years back. And he's great at giving us very direct input, looking down through the things we're doing. And that's the 4 years in between each renewal. And at the renewal process, that's done by an EMCC verifier, one of the assessors. But in between, we use this individual that we started using some years back. And the template is great because that worked. It was very easy to take the template and just say, these are the sort of things we're looking at. And then he takes that as his template for looking at our program. And we basically give him access to all the information that we have collated over the years via the modern tools we can do with technology now. So that makes it very easy for him to go in and assess everything we've done.
Thank you, Jan.
Okay.
I hope that's made that clearer, Sylvia. Thank you very much. So yes, those templates and that guide we can send to you. We normally do that along with the application form. And then if you still need more support with that, our accreditation managers will support you going forward with that part of the process. So
thank you.
Sylvia. Are we at the end of our session? I do believe we are. So if anybody has any more questions that haven't been able to be answered on this forum, please feel very welcome to email us, Tammy. And further to that, I want to just thank you all for taking the time to come and attend this with us, but also for your very, very valuable comments and input, because I think that enabled us to cover other things that I might not have covered as well. So thank you to Tammy and Wendy and Dila, and especially, as I said, to you for being here as our providers. Right, thank you so much, everyone. And I hope to be talking to all of you again soon.